Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone had a good day yesterday. So we're going to go over page 430 right now and 436, and then we'll talk about today's lesson. So let's get started right away. So on page 40, you were comparing batting averages. So in Major League Baseball, they take how many hits a player gets and with how many at bats they have, and they come up with the batting average. So the higher the batting average means more hits out of more at bats. So question number 1 was Ted Williams or Lou Gehrig, 344 thousandths or 340 thousandths is the way you could read it. They usually in just baseball they don't say the thousandths, they just say 344 hitter. Ted Williams was the better hitter. Ted Williams, the splendid splitter. All right, number 2, we had Joltin' Joe DiMaggio or Willie the Say Hey Kid Mays. And it was Joe DiMaggio, 325. He had a hitting streak, Joe DiMaggio did. I believe it was 56 straight games he hit in safely. Number 3 was Hank Aaron or Babe Ruth. And Babe Ruth had the better batting average. But we have to consider that Hank Aaron played a much longer career. He held on many years to break Babe Ruth's home run record. Number 4, we have Ty Cobb or Rogers Hornsby. Hornsby played for the Cardinals at one time, and Hornsby would not read a book or go to the movies because he was afraid it would affect his batting eye. But the winner is Ty Cobb. Number 5, we have Rod Carew, played for a long time with the Minnesota Twins and the California Angels, or our own Stan the Man Musial, and Stan Musial is better hitter. Just imagine if he wouldn't have served 2 years in the armed services during World War II, probably would have had 500 home runs. If you can't tell, I'm a baseball fan. Number 6, we have Reggie Jackson or Yogi Berra. Reggie Jackson, famous for being Mr. October, all the home runs he hit during the World Series. But it's Yogi Berra, a fellow Yankee, who's the better hitter. And if you've never seen The Naked Gun, Reggie Jackson tries to kill the Queen. Number 7, Mickey Mantle or Johnny Bench. It's Mickey Mantle, 298, better hitter. And number 8, Roberto Clemente is the better hitter for number 8. So hopefully you knew to compare those, just like we've done. We would say, okay, decimal. There's a 3 in the 10th place. So we go to the next place, 4, 4. And then that's the same, so we go to the final place. We have 4 and a 0. This is larger, so that means that decimal is larger. In this case, it means it's more, and they are the better hitter. All right, then you had page 436. So you had 436 at the end of day 1. Nora has completed 1/2 of the race, so we know that she completed 60 miles. And Stuart, number 2, Stuart had completed 1/4 of the race. So let's review that for a second. So we have 1/4 of, right, the race. So 1/4 of 120. So we could think about it this way. We could think about it as 1/4 times 120 over 1. We could think about it that way too. 1 times 120 equals 120. 1 times 4. And of course, this is an improper fraction, right? So you would divide 4 into 120, and you would get 30. So the answer is 30 miles. Now, I was showing you yesterday that you could just do this. You could just say 1/4 of 120. We divide 4, the denominator, into 120. Again, we get 30. And then we take that quotient and we multiply it times our numerator, which is 1. So either process works. You pick which one is easier for you. But I do want you to also let me know if you found a different way to solve these. And you were supposed to use the fraction bar. So you would have drawn out, actually it was drawn out for you, but I'm going to draw it out. And since we're talking about fourths, of course, we could just break that into fourths. This is how much Stuart did day one. Nora obviously did more than Stuart. And then number 3, at the end of day 2, Nora has completed 5/6 of the race. In this case, 5/6, we could do 5/6 times 120 over 1. Now, why over 1? You probably should remember to last week's work, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you. It's because 120 is a whole number, so we put it over 1, so it makes it a fraction. But the reason we put it over 1 is it does not change the value of this 120. This is still 120. This is an improper fraction, so when you divide 1 into 120, you get 120. So 6 times 1 is 6. 5 times 120. Well, 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6, right? So then we have 606, which is an improper fraction. So what do? We divide the 6 into 600, and we get 100. And that is our answer here. How many miles? 100 miles. Nora did. And finally, number 4, at the end of day 2, Stuart has completed 2/3 of the race. How many miles has he gone? So 2/3 times 120 is the same thing as 2/3 times 120 over 1. And we get 3 as our denominator. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 2 is 4. We get 240. And then we're going to divide 3 into 240. And we know it goes in there 80 times. So it'd be 80 miles. So Nora obviously was the faster bike rider in this case. All right, so going to today's work, what I want to talk about is, look at here. I wrote 2/3 times 90. What does this equation mean? Could anyone tell us a story about this equation? So if I was going to tell a story, I could say, well, Mitch is riding his bike 90 miles. He's gone 2/3 of the way. How many miles has he gone? Before you solve this problem, let's think about how big the answer is going to be. Is it going to be more or less than 90? So think about that for a second. When we solve this, so Mitch rode 2/3, right, of the 90 miles. He wants to ride all 90 miles. So far, he's ridden 2/3. Here's our equation. Do you think when we get an answer here, is it going to be more or less than this 90 miles? So I'm going to put miles up here just so we remember what we're talking about. Well, let's figure it out. 2/3 times 90. So if we were to take 2/3 times 90 over 1, right? We'd get 3. 2 times 90 is 180. And then when we divide 3 into 180, we get 60. So far, Mitch has ridden 60 miles. So our answer here is 60 miles, so it's less than the 90 miles. Now, how's another way to think about this? Well, if the whole track is 90 miles and Mitch has only ridden 2/3 of it, we know that Mitch has not ridden the whole track. Because if you remember the rules of fraction, what makes a whole? In this case, it would be 3/3 would make the whole. So 3/3 is the same in this case as the 90 miles, right? Because anytime we have a numerator and denominator that are the same, we're talking about one whole. In this case, we're talking about one whole race. So by this being 2/3, we should be able to deduce that, hey, he has not ridden the whole track yet. He still has a little bit left to go. So the answer here is going to be less than 90 miles. Now this is important because in today's pages, which are going to be pages 433 and 435, 433 and 434, you're going to have to do a couple questions just like this. So message me if you're in trouble. Message me if you need some extra help. And tomorrow we're going to do some math games as well. And I know you're probably wondering, who is the student today? The student today is Edward. Edward is the student today. So again, you're going to do page 433 and 434. And I hope you guys have a great day.